All right. Welcome back out there, an online world, and welcome back in here. We appreciate you so much. I hope y'all took a moment to appreciate Jacob's story. That brother came through with the fire and the passion, and you can tell he's speaking from his heart. And I also could tell he gets a little anxiety because he was rolling up there. But that's I love it because that energy is transcribed into what we feel in here, which is true passion and true emotion. And so, thank you, brother. You touched on some really pertinent topics, which we'll go into on our couch session. Doc Hop explored some of those with you as well. Really great opening conversation. Thank you so much for that. I really want to introduce now our second speaker, who is a dynamic brother with nothing but lessons on blessings. He's hails from North Oakland, executive director of Black Men Speak. Let's give a round of applause for my brother, Damon Shuja.
Thank you, brother Denzel.
All right, let him have it up here, bro.
This story, it was presented to me, and one thing when I read the title, I thought about me. A jack of many trades, a master of none. And I've been on this planet almost 60 years. And I'm still, as the other brother said, trying on masses, but I'm a youngster still, but I'm from Oakland, California. Our family's in the 7th generation. And it's many lessons when you say, but I try to be king because I want to be the boss of my brain all the time. I've been the warrior, and when I was the warrior, I got orders, and I ordered other people. I've been the magician. See it, poof, and gone. And I've been the lover. And most of the time when we say these words, I think about things externally outside myself. But when I reflect on the things about my inside self, when I was the lover to myself, I had to learn how to look at myself and embrace myself. Most of the time, most people wouldn't know my background. But like I said, I'm a native and I'm a traveling man. And I don't mean traveling in the part as that a spiritual journey, which it was, but I was a traveling man, meaning that if I give you the punchline, I rode many CDC buses from prison to prison to prison to prison to prison. I'm a returning family member who happened to be traumatized and terrorized for 34 years straight. I'm home now, so I had to learn how to love again. I had to learn how to practice magic and believe in it. I had to be a king. I had to be a warrior. As he say, I have whatever you call it, a label, but I'm a brother. I have a problem when I introduce myself to professional people, judges, lawyers, doctors, and the common folks. I don't introduce myself as Mr. Johnson. I introduce myself as Brother Shuja. And sometimes people may not think it appropriate, but I can define myself at this age. I stood in front of people. I used to be scared. I stepped in front of the lines then. Till I learned you only can kill a man once, and I'm dying anyway, because that's how life is. You come in here to die. It's a blessing. So when I quit being scared and quit stealing from myself, say I had all these things about myself, I didn't know who I was. And this started when I was a young boy, because most of the time our parents tell us to go outside and play. Or they're so busy parenting that they forget how, or working. And they think parenting is putting clothes on you, food on the table, and making sure you got a roof over your head. Of course, that is once we become parents. But when I was a child, it was things that I wanted and I didn't understand because my mother couldn't provide them. She was a single mother, and she had to work, and she was going to school and on welfare. But I wanted them $6 Converse what Capwell's had in the basement. Not the top floor would cost $11. I wanted to make it easy on my mama, $6. And in my young state of mind, my mama couldn't afford them. So I used my next intellect, how to steal them. So I had peers who ran with me and also say, man, all we got to do is go down there and put them on and leave the old tennis shoes there. But I'm sure before that crime happened, it was many other crimes I committed. But the biggest one I was after I got past my age of discernment, And I could dress myself, boil a boiled egg, wipe behind my ears, still peed on the floor. But I learned how to clean it up. Then I started trying all these masks on because there was a void there. As I said earlier, I was raised by a single mother. And tragedy happened in my family at a young age. My grandfather was murdered, who was my superhero. And I was raised with a family of women, and I grew up being a male chauvinist and didn't even know what a male chauvinist was because they told me I had to be a man now, and I was still a kid. And I didn't want to be a little boy no longer. And these things led me to making unhealthy decisions. But they were healthy at the time I was making them because as I thought as a kid, I acted like a kid. So my input was one thing and my output was another, were contradicted. But out of love, not even knowing, I continued to make balancing. It was a word brother say you were balanced. To the other brother, we call it later on mizan, which means balance. But we say a balance of what? See, because when I was living that life out there and it was corrupt, I was trying to balance that. And then when I live this wholesome life today, I'm trying to balance that. And if anybody knows me, they know that's even hell. So in this storm, to find peace, because I'm in a storm. And being a jack of many trades and a master of none, I'm still trying on these masters to fill this void, which at one time I didn't have a name for. And then I started hearing these names, and I think about a story, what I read in some scriptures before about Adam. And Adam had all these anxieties as he traveled the planet at that time. And he didn't know what in the hell a dinosaur was, a mountain, a goat, or whatever, and it created frustration. These are symbols. They don't have to be, but they are symbols what reflect my life and other people's life. And it created anxiety, no different than this pandemic, COVID happening. We have to wear masks when we weren't ready. But once we gave Adam, God told him to name those things. And he gave him a name. Now he could identify them and understand them. So when I had this fear, I thought, man, I ain't no punk. I had to be something else because I was told I was the man now. So I can remember when I had my first worstest Christmas was because I was about 8 years old. So it's my grandfather was killed when I was 8. So I was trying to grow up fast and didn't even know what I was growing up. So I didn't want, and I told my cousin, he was 6 going on 7, that Santa Claus wasn't real. But I had been acting different. So my mother and my auntie figured they'd teach me a lesson since I was getting too big for my britches. They say, Damon, you too big now to get toys. And they bought me clothes and books with one toy. And that year, my cousin, we got civil rivalry, some between brother, some cousin. I like vanilla, my cousin like chocolate. We both agree on strawberry. So on Christmas, he got every damn toy I ever wanted. Electrical race cars, blowgun and everything, Hot Wheel tracks. He had so many toys that I had an attitude. I think I quit liking them then. Really, not knowing where these things, the scripting or conditioning come from, that it affects us farther in the future. And so when I told him it was no Christmas, he cried and told his mama. And so that changed our projection, and they made me grow up. But that was one of the hardest Christmas when I was a kid, that I didn't get no toys. Now, this is family. It wasn't Christmas because I know Santa Claus wasn't real. But I looked at it as being the love. So it was a disparity in the love I received between my first cousin when we didn't know no difference. We laid in the same bed and peed in the same bed and peed on each other. So it wasn't no difference. My grandmama fed the food out of her mouth, in his mouth, and in my mouth. But as I went on and traveled my journey, because sometimes they can't put both of y'all in a box when they bury you, I had to learn how to stand on my own. And will things and talk things, and being, I think it's saying, kum faya kum, be and it is. And I learned these sciences and this universal truths about mastering me. I couldn't master nobody else, but I figured, young kid out of Oakland, California, went to the penitentiary at a young age, couldn't read. I graduated and everything, but one day I was sitting in the cell, And I was writing a letter home to my 5-year-old daughter. I left, and I couldn't spell the word the. Not that I was stupid. See, because I went to school, graduated and everything, was going to college, was supposed to go into Marines, and got involved under a law which it was at the time called the California Felony Murder Rule. And I was sentenced to a life sentence from the death penalty. And the guy I went with, he didn't know my name. You know, y'all know about the black taxi cab union we got in the community, huh? Hey, man, I need a ride. Here go a couple of bucks. So I caught one of them taxis. Didn't know his name or anything. He didn't even know mine. But I was in the wrong life, and I was doing things I shouldn't have been done because I was raised good and I had a constitution, but I broke it. And when we got to a place of business that was known, he told me because I was breaking the law. You know, I cast forth with my own hands that he wanted some of the product that I had, and he had a gun. He didn't know my name, I didn't know his name, but I was running in that crowd. And he gave me a gun. I still didn't know a plan. It wasn't a plan. It's just two stupid, naive young men. Because I wasn't a kid. I was 23. He was older than me. Me being a man, I always start trying to run with older people instead of hanging with my peers. I thought they had something I didn't have. I had a boy and didn't know I had a boy. I had a daddy issue. Didn't know I had a daddy issue. So I didn't have names for these things. But as I growed and traveled in this journey, I started giving names to things that I could name it. Not nobody else telling me what it was, that I named it. And I lived a life that I said I had to self-correct. Because somebody always told me I wouldn't put your hands behind your back, stand over there, bend over, crack, and cough. I did this for many years until I thought it was part of my rite of passage. And I traveled this journey till I said, well, I didn't know the world was like this. But of course, it's always been like this. I just didn't have eyes to see. But when I started seeing things, you know, when the brothers was talking before, I thought about many of our great scholars. You know, I thought about Ralph Ellison, The Invisible Man, Dr. Naim Akbar, Visions for Black Men, on and Dr. Kunjufu, Conspiracy to Kill the Black Boy Child. So we can go on and on and on and on. Because we got scholars, we got grandfathers, we got teachers. We can talk about histories and ancestors. I have some people I studied with some brothers and from the Sudan. And there's so much knowledge over there that when we think we know something, when you get through reading this room of books and you walk out of this room and into another, that room is even bigger with more knowledge. And I think of a verse in the book that says, my people are destroyed due to a lack of knowledge. And that's one of the tricks that Satan had attacked me with. Because I thought I was slick. I went up against some professionals. I was slick, but I wasn't smart. Because they was educated about the law, I was educated about the game, and they didn't add up. And truth knocked the brains of my falsehood out. So as I come to this today, I look who I've been and who I plan to become and continue to come. You know, and I may never be a master of none of them. But you know what I am? I'm a good person. So that's what I strive for. Thank you.
Well, dang. Shuja, like I said, man, lessons on blessings. So let's give this brother another round of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your truth. And I know I had to wrap you up, man, because you got so much to say. So we're going to have you back on this couch so we can dive in. But one of the things, and anybody who has questions, and for anybody online, let us know if there are questions online. Okay, so we've got one lined up for you. I want to, so we oftentimes, it creates a space, we talk about the idea of imprisonment being one of the traps that is a tool used against the black body. And institutional imprisonment so long ago, or enslavement so long ago, but then institutional imprisonment and how the physical imprisonment then begets the psychological imprisonment. And you talked about being a child and some of those things being taken away from you, and you have to body up and muscle up, and you know. But at what point, I heard you say before, you're 2 years old. How do you foster and nurture that child that was stripped away from that childhood so long ago and forced into this society now after imprisonment?
Well, some of it, you know, I learned tough love. You know, one thing black men missed coming up in the early 70s and they were black men. If you being from Oakland, black men, my grandfather built the Oakland Acorn, Dr. Otis Stillwell. And the first place they built down there was the Roundhouse. He built the House of Leaves, many things. And I used to see black men get up in the morning and go to work. Plumbers, carpenters, shoe repair men, gas station owners. And then the 80s, not the late 70s came, we made it. Huey P. Newton moved to 19 or 2100 Lakeshore Ave. The Nation of Islam got strode. Black Panthers got counter-tail program. Destroyed. KDI was the voice of Oakland. We had a radio station, but we had communities. You can go anywhere you wanted to over, and people say that's my brother. Now we weren't gangs here, or that's my cousin. You know, we weren't gangs here. We didn't have this mindset with somebody else. And then when this came into me, I had to grow up. See, when I hit the penitentiary, I left here at 23. They told me when I walked in, they said, man, we don't give a damn what you used to do at home. But you're in the penitentiary now, you's a man. And when I first got to the penitentiary, first thing I see, because we come out the Bay, man, we got whites, blacks, Mexicans, and everything. So when we go to prison, we green, man. We don't know nothing, you know. So we hit the line. We got white friends out of Oakland and all that, but they got white boys there who got a whole nother dogma about they self. What you doing with them niggas? We hollering Oakland, and they saying white boy. And they stabbed them in front of us. Now, prison got politics and codes, and you have to follow those, even if you don't believe them and want them. Now, you can put your life on the line. Well, many times I did in prison. Maybe I was tired or I was just crazy, but I stood with against the grain. And they stabbed this guy right in front of us, and we the youngsters, man, and we know the white boy. We could start a prison riot, or we say he'd be all right. But when they stabbed him, we doing social distance because you got a rule in prison, 6 feet. You don't let nobody up on you. If you and your crew working or if you walking, you give me 6 feet, you know? So we practice it, but when they stab him in front of me and another crew of us, we ain't no punks or nothing. They say, that's what you get for hanging with the niggas. So these things made me man up. See, I went to prison with Vietnam veterans was there. They say what they meant and meant what they said. They were men. You know, they wasn't punks, they wasn't crazy, they wasn't animalistic. They had enough. A lot of them had fought these wars and come back home. And now they was in prison because they had been trained to kill and they didn't know how to debrief, digress. So when stuff happened, shit happened. And so I met these men. So when they told you, and I was a youngster, you gonna read this book and give us a book report. You know, you gonna exercise today. And then later on, you gonna read this law book. He had to tell me straight, this ain't for me, it's for you. So I had to have faith, I had to have trust. Still today, I fight a trust issue because it impacts you one way or the other. Regardless, you got 10 fingers, 10 toes, and look all the way together there. But I must be proud because I'm thankful because just 2 years, I got out on Valentine's Day, last 2019. My daughter say the best day in her life, so whoever get my daughter, they got to really do some macking, man. You know? But just being home that short, about being thankful, I'm not an ingrate. I'm very thankful. I came out of prison when I was in that school, that chamber. I studied a little bit. I didn't study a lot, but I did study. And coming home and receiving these blessings, I think of the story of Joseph all the time, who his brother sold into the prison system. And he came out and he got to take care. And I brag all the time to my friends and peers. I could write a check for $75. You know, I can employ people. I can empower my community. I can bring wellness. See, because I'm in the mental health field. You know, because these limbs, they are just an attachment, but everything, man, is mine. And if we don't have this together, these don't follow. And that's how my life was when I was young and that kid trying to decipher these things. I didn't have this together, so these didn't follow. I didn't have no discipline. I think of that Nipsey Hussle. It takes dedication.
I say, and right there, we're going to leave it.
One.
We're going to get back with you on the couch session. Give them
Thank you.
Give them a round of applause. Appreciate it.